Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to F1 Manager. This is episode 36. Next up is the French Grand Prix, so Paul Ricard. And we're going to spend a week staff doing the F1 school again this year, but more importantly, the regulation vote results. Huge, huge points change proposals that I absolutely despise. I mean, they are doing away with the majority of the point scoring that is possible, really talking about bringing it down to just six drivers scoring points with a grand total that is going to be far less at the end of the year. Now, can we start getting into the top six by next year? Sure. I don't like it, though. I really don't like it. Let's see what happens. McLaren voted for almost unanimous voting against. McLaren, the only one who went for it. So, good. It's not happening. New chassis design is complete, so this is going to get us into the first bit of research into the new phase. And it's about time that I start research for next year's car, as we are going to see a fairly decent amount of change. We're about the halfway point for this season. So I need to evaluate which parts are we going to be done putting upgrades on for this year. And I think it's the two that are furthest along. Underfloor is definitely one of those. I believe the rear wing is the other, as I've focused pretty heavily on those so far, and they're both in really good shape. It's the other parts that are really lagging behind now. So I think that's where I'm going to start turning one team into research only, and maybe a little further into the season we'll commit another team to research as well, especially because the objective for the year, right, top seven, we've already got that pretty well in hand. We're currently sixth. We're actually battling more for 5-6 than we are for any of those teams behind us, and we don't need a ton of upgrades this year to get what we need. Long-term goal was score points in 50% of races. We've already done 6 of the 11 that we need for the year. We are scoring in more than half of the races so far. So again, all pointing towards maybe we start putting a little more into research than we do into this year's development. Get a head start on next year. The research is going to have to hold off for a little bit because those two parts, the underfloor and the rear wing, both have the final new design of this year being implemented right now. So I need to wait for the first one to be done and start to develop the parts before we can then go into the research phase of that. So in the meantime, we're going to do another front wing upgrade and spend a little more on this one, going all in on the low speed downforce, the airflow sensitivity, and the airflow through the front, bringing both of those from rear end of the grid up the grid order quite a bit. And with this upgrade, at least the front wing would put us into the top half of the grid in all aspects. Now for the overall car, it's not huge gains, but low speed cornering would go from 19th to 13th. We'd get out of the back end. Medium speed would see a small gain. Dirty air cornering would definitely see some gains. The brake cooling would also go up the order a little bit there. So it would get us off the back end for everything. I mean, we're definitely moving up with this one. Low speed cornering has been a pretty serious issue for us, and this gets us almost mid-table. It's going to take a little while, 2 months. It's going to be the last front wing upgrade, I think, of the year, as well as, again, we're going to start turning that focus towards research the later half of this season and call it good here at some stage. We're definitely reaching that stage. Just not ready for those research projects just yet. Close, though. And we do now have that final underfloor upgrade of the year. We'll make another upgrade to the side. And, at this point, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking it's probably going to be the final upgrade, or maybe next to last upgrade on this year's car that we're going to make going forward once we have an underfloor that has been manufactured. That's going to be that next and first research, and then rear wing research, and then front wing research, and one by one getting into research alone in for next year. So that last upgrade is going to be a side pod upgrade. It's only going to take a little over a month and a half. It'll go right into the end of this window. We're going to start focusing on research now. So that's going to be it for this car. But there's still, 3 more projects on the way. And then a couple that just finished. So that's 5 upgrades more for the car. Last year, the French Grand Prix did not go well for us. We finished 18th and 20th. A lap down. Obviously, we're going to hope for better this year. It is medium speed and high speed sensitive, and that's definitely one of our better areas. So we're going to hope for a much better race than what we had last time. There are a few slow corners out on track.
It's Grand Prix time here in Le Castellet. The very first horseless carriage race was organised in France in 1894. And since then, well, the carriages have only gotten faster. For the Grand Prix here, Paul Ricard boasts a fine collection of low, medium and high-speed corners. The scene curve is taken at breakneck speed, right before heavy braking at Beausset. This is an all-rounder test for cars and drivers alike. The season is about halfway through, and it makes me wonder what else is in store for the teams. Well, there's only one way to find out. So, without further ado, let's get started. I think there's been contact on the track. Let's see what happened there. Okay,
FP2, big crash, and it has involved Albon. Ferrari locking up and going into the side of Albon there. 2 of them caught up in that one together, so Albon heading back. Actually, we're still seeing debris down the road. And Porsche with a lockup. That's not helping anything either. There's Albon with his broken wing. So far, our pace, we ran hard compound in FP1. We're running medium compound so far here at FP2. But our pace is way off compared to everybody else. I don't know if it's that the tires and the fuel load have that big of an impact here, or if it's something else going on, but we are really slow right now. Bonus is in a good place for the race upcoming. Porsche max 15 out of 15, Albon 14 out of 15. Definitely close. I don't think we're ever going to get him to 15 out of 15 with running FP1. So to get that 14 out of 15 is the best we could hope for. And we'll take that heading into qualifying through practice. Pace doesn't look that great, but we'll see what it's like when we actually get out there pushing. And with much faster parts on the car. Magnussen comes out right as we're starting our flying lap. It looks like Albon might have been held up. I think Porsche might have gotten past cleanly, so possibly both cars were impacted on their first lap out. Considering we're ahead of Perez, you'd go, oh yeah, no, nothing to worry about, but it's clear that Perez was impeded. In terms of timing, slower than Norris. We've been pretty steadily faster than the McLarens. So I'd say we're going to have to try to get one more go on that set of tires. Okay, so we are in heavy traffic, but that traffic is clearing as we go to start our lap. See where we're at as the lap goes on, though, as we are... Porsche, anyway, is coming up on those guys pretty quick with still a bit of lap to finish. Yeah, bad place to catch him. He really had to hold up there, especially with Schumacher. Albon, so far, has gotten through cleanly. And Albon does get through cleanly. So Albon was not impeded. Porsche was. He definitely does not improve his time. Does Albon? Okay, he improved a little. He did get a little bit faster there. Not being impeded certainly helped. So far, that's P14, P16. With 1 lap to go, we're going to have to go around quick, reset, get ready for that final run. Hopefully before it's... Ooh, there's already cars heading out. We've got half a lap to go. This is going to be tight. I didn't think we were having this much of an issue when it came, but everybody's out. I think we're too late. Looks like we're going to have an early exit this time, folks. We started with over 7 minutes to go, but it's clearly too late. or they're half a lap around by the time we got back to our box. I'm guessing that's a Q1 exit for both. Albon, for one, is already off the bubble. Ricardo at least is behind us. Schumacher, Stroll are behind us. So it's going to be P16, P17. It is an early exit, but at least we have plenty fresh tires, and at least it's not last place. And I'd say my bad, but, going as early as we did to get a second lap in, we've done that many times before, and that has never caught me out. I didn't go as early as I would have gone in other occasions, but I thought we were plenty early. It's a bit of a longer lap here.
Here we are, folks. We're back for another day of scintillating F1 action. It's race day.
Qualifying went well for Williams, as attested by their strong position on the grid. Now it's all about finding that edge for the race itself. Alpine demonstrated a lot of grit during qualifying here, and will be hoping that the hard work pays off when it comes to the race. We've been having sunny weather here today, but there are some clouds looming that might complicate things for teams further down the line.
Absolutely right. So brace yourself for a fantastic conclusion to the French Grand Prix.
Starting as far back as we are, we might as well flip that strategy and go from hards to mediums on the one stopper and see if we could be faster at the end and make some passes against cars that are out there running on the hards and have a bit less pace than us. It'll involve making some overtakes, but like last year where just keeping up was an issue, this year we definitely have better pace and should be able to compete with other cars a bit easier than we did. But with that poor starting grid, P15, P16 is where we end up. I think this is the smarter way to go.
Now we should have good weather for the race, and that will be welcome news for the teams. Here's Williams. Slower than most yesterday, so today they'll be starting from the bottom half of the grid. And then we've got Alex Albon. They'll be starting the race from the bottom half of the grid, so there's a fair bit of ground to make up. The race start is mere seconds away. This is it. It's time for the French Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
I think for me, expectations are relatively low on this race. I do think that we're facing a pretty big challenge. But that doesn't mean we can't get up into the points. I just don't think we're going to contend for much, if any, points today. Now, Alpine, our nearest competitor, way up in 6th, 7th, very comfortable there. Ahead of Sainz. They're going to be tough. They're going to be really tough today to beat as they look to be that best of the rest today. So I think our hope is going to be to try to get up to, P9, P10, be with AlphaTauri at the end of this thing. But at least your front 8 are looking really strong. They'll take the bulk of the points, and that means our competitors behind us in the constructors, none of them look particularly strong right now. Corsair behind Albon. Albon's gotten around Corsair here to start. So let's go ahead and back off with Corsair a bit.
We want to leave.
Looking to make 2 overtakes. And he's going to complete the double overtake over both of the Haas cars.
And
That's
there's
excellent.
an overtake from
And
Williams.
he's got some momentum with Alonso right now as well. Good start for Albon. Car is capable of getting through the grid. Inside of Alonso. Thought we were going to tuck back in for a second, but we continue on. Long sweeping right-hander. It's going to be hard to finish the overtake, but we do manage to do so.
And a new position.
Okay, I think now is a good time to settle in a little bit. Lap 3 now.
Can afford to drop back.
That's 2 laps in the books.
Yep, sure.
Excellent job from Albon to make 3 overtakes on that lap, pushing. Showing we do have some pace. We're doing all of that on the hard compound. Speaking of hard compound, where are we at? We've got to feel the back 4 on the mediums. That's going to help them keep up a lot better with Corsair, but they're going to put a lot sooner. Corsair, that trio, all on the hard compound like him. So at some point I want to make that overtake with Corsair. So we'll focus on him next to try to make his way up the grid. That's so stupid. Half a second down and he doesn't get DRS. They really need to fix that. They were supposed to fix that in the latest update, but it doesn't look any different than before. Back down to P13, Corsair, still P16. We want to kind of push through with him here at some point. The drop-off starts with Leclerc, so Hamilton actually has a race lead with the two Red Bulls behind him. Ferrari's not quite on the same pace any longer. It's not a diss track. Is that strategy? It's strategy. Front three on the medium. Ocon on the medium, keeping up with that front row. So expect those three to pull away quite a bit. But if we're keeping up with Leclerc, that's going to be huge. If we're keeping up with the Alpines, that's going to be huge. We do want to try to make our way through this grid a little bit though. Just a little bit at a time, every handful of laps, make one push. Albon, no DRS, half a second behind. Corsair's going to have to get by soon. If he's going to progress. Let's focus on Corsair. Oh, he's letting him back by. Tucks in right away. No idea why you do that. Looking for a switchback or something? It's an odd switchback, but he is making it work apparently. He's going to have the outside here down the front straight. Again, why the tuck in? Why do you back off and tuck in when you're heading down the straightaway? Makes no sense. Corsair is going to really miss out. It looks like front 13 from Russell on down, as Russell got over Leclerc. Mercedes looking pretty racy today. That's one big train. But then the Haas car's definitely falling off the back. Corsair's going to have another look, and he's going to tuck back in yet again. He's having a real issue with the overtake today. He's had the job done 2 times, 3 times already in that last lap, and then just kept giving up really easily. Vettel's falling off, so that middle group, second tier group, led by Leclerc,
So what DRS?
is starting to pull away from that next grouping. And like I figured, our race is probably for 9th and 10th today.
Don't know what we have left.
3 wide. The back two getting up by, that was pretty sweet. So they both, Corsair and Magnussen, both go around Tsunoda, and then Corsair eventually finishes the job by getting around Magnussen.
That's great job, great job.
Gasly runs wide. He's now in the last place. That's the Alpine. That's the Alpine. Gasly goes from 5th or 6th to last place. Just from running wide. Corsair, just like that though. So coming back on him. Now you can see the trades. You can see how the front 3 have definitely pulled away, and then it's 4th through 12th, and 13th to 18th. Magnussen finally goes around Corsair, but Tsunoda follows him around, so double overtake on that occasion. They are 4.5 seconds back, so that gap is just getting bigger and bigger. Gasly cannot get around Stroll. Hamilton back into the race lead. Verstappen re-overtaking as they swap back and forth. Sector 2, yellow flag.
Oh, big lock up there.
It's Porsche.
Here's the replay. Now we see the Williams here.
Porsche
And yes,
overruns
that's
corner,
the lock.
locks up. And he drops to P18. He was neutral, harvest. And he makes that mistake. He's out there on his own now. So, run neutral. He should be able to catch up to the back of that group. He can't catch up to the back of this group, but he should be able to catch up to the Haas cars. He's faster than they are. I'm refilling that battery here for Albin for a little bit. Gasly went around Porsche, but again, he'll lead Porsche back up to the back end of the other group. See how that opens up. 8/10.
Alpine
Back to
just
neutral.
advanced.
Got to close it down. Gasly again overtaking Porsche. They are still 2 1/4 seconds back, so they've not caught that back end group just yet. But Stroll at 4.5 back. Stroll did not follow with. So that's kind of the main idea for this phase of the race is recover the fuel, recover the ERS. Later on, we'll worry about trying to make some passes on these guys. ERS, nearly full. We'll leave it at that for now. Once we close these guys up again, we'll start worrying about the fuel load because it's not improving. It's actually gotten worse. It was half a kilogram below. Now it's 0.6. So running neutral is actually hurting on fuel load. We will have to use some lift and coast here. Gasly and Porsche have caught up to that back train, the Haas train. Neither one making their way through at this point. Oh, that went out pretty fast. Okay, back to neutral. He's losing a little ground there, but not much. He's got an easier time keeping up, even though his pace isn't quite the same as Albin's. Albin's in a train led by a Ferrari, an Alpine, and a Mercedes. Porsche's in a train led by a Haas, who's 10 seconds off the back end of the other train and falling further and further back. So they're a second a lap slower. Porsche might be a few tenths of a lap slower than Albin, but you see where, half a second wise, it's a lot easier for him to keep up. Fuel's also an issue for him. You can see we were at 0.4 for a long time. Now it's 0.5. So lift to coast, very much a necessity on this track. You will not make it run in neutral. Does that mean some of the cars are going to run out? I've heard that they do and that was something that was going to be addressed. This, running neutral, will run you out of fuel. Porsche's keep it up easily enough, but Albin is not. Albin almost out to a second. And Verstappen, the first one into the pits. Medium compound, 21 laps is that window. You got 32 more to go on the hard. Porsche has some cars around him that are on that medium compound and are going to pit very soon. Gasly's got much better pace, so these two are going to be running together with those other guys
is available
Oh,
getting left
if
behind.
needed.
You see what our gap is. Interval is 1.4. We got DRS that time, but we are more than a second behind. Verstappen behind Albin. Wow, that's surprising. He didn't pull away that much. This field was that bunched together. Albin into the points, P10. And Verstappen and Perez that have already pit that are behind him. Hamilton now into the pits this time. A lap later, it's lap 22. Porsche not really closing that gap on Gasly, is he? Tried to close that up, couldn't do so. He had made his way past a couple of cars So by the time they peeled out, it opened up a gap. Hamilton, Ocon into the pits. Up with Albin, who is now running in P8. And he's still got that big old train right there in front of him. Okay, is that train all on the hard? Yes, it is. Everybody's on the hard. That's all of the medium runners. In terms of the tire wear, we've pushed on a little bit harder. Porsche at 55% is the lowest. Albin at 59% is the second lowest. We're looking at 60 to 62 for everybody else. 60 to 63 for everybody else. It's not bad. 5 seconds away from the lead of this race at this point. Now, of course, 2 of your fastest cars, 3 of your, well, the 3 fastest, but that's because they were all on medium, have already pit. Big old gap behind Albin to Verstappen, though. Are they pulling guys along? Verstappen and Hamilton are not. Perez very much is. Oh, he's on conserve and he spins.
Now watch this. Here's the moment
Both
involving Albon.
drivers ruining their own race.
Spin.
Both drivers, unforced errors.
And the team had such
When
high
not
hopes
pushing,
today.
not being
What a
aggressive,
shame.
just cruise mode, and both drivers make mistakes. Albin still in P8, but he loses 4 seconds. That's not bad, but now he's on his own. So that DRS train that we've been in, that DRS train is gone. And that definitely would have added a little tire wear. I think we went from 58, 59 down to that 56. Not a big loss on that, but still, Albin running by himself. There's your final tally now. It's 5 seconds. We lost 5 seconds from that spin. Hamilton, Verstappen coming. I don't know how well we can keep up with them once they do go by, but we'll certainly try. That'll be his ticket now to still have a decent race. Okay, Verstappen and Hamilton have already closed up on Albin. Just over a lap later, they are that much faster. That was 2.2 seconds that they covered. And we're back down to P10.
It's a
Pre-pit
race position
stops, that's
gained
where-
for Mercedes.
But ahead of us, the 2 cars that just passed are the only ones that have already pit. Porsche just hanging on to Ocon, and he is just starting to slip out of that DRS range now. And here you go, into that pit window. Others, Unusual, first to pit. Albin in just, what, 2 laps, 3 laps? 3 laps now, I believe, is 6.5 seconds behind. Gasly has finally caught up to the Haas cars. Got around Magnussen there. Lap 30. Down to 22 laps to go. We're going to give one more lap for Porsche. One more lap around. From P12 we'll be pitting, but obviously he's going to drop back quite a bit. Albin is going to run another lap or 2. 5 seconds that Albin lost in the spin was costly, but the additional probably 6-7 seconds he lost being out of the train I think is going to cost us even more. That's 10 seconds, but Porsche at least is holding these guys up on this lap. So it's a little bit straighter entering in. Takes out that final more than 90-degree turn there. 2.599. Don't want to overheat. We'll wait till the later laps to try to push, especially for P19. Way ahead of Stroll. Let's focus back in on Albin. Albin, we want to run at least one more lap here. Albin currently P5, but of course Everybody around has pit. Norris is not, I don't think. Yeah, Norris has not pit yet. Magnussen has not pit yet. So we're not alone. 3 cars still out there. There is a hard to soft strategy. There could be those 2 cars aiming for it. There's definitely a pace difference in the tires here. But I'm worried about the softs really properly making it to the end. So Hamilton, Verstappen, who caught and passed me, we are now 14 seconds behind them by the time we pit. Means we lost a lot of pace compared to them, and we weren't that far behind. That's why, when they pit, they came out behind me. So we hadn't lost that much ground. 2.523. Excellent pit stop there, but we come out in P13. P13. So we are out of the points, and we've got a fairly big gap between us and the guys that we were with before. And that's that big problem. There's your Magnussen, Leclerc, Vettel, Alonso, Zhou. There's your group. But Magnussen has not pit, so there's at least one more to go backwards.
Sounds like a spin.
Norris has not pit, but he was in front of us. We'll find out. Magnussen also into the pits. And Norris comes out on the soft compound just in front of Albon. Magnussen behind us. That's P12 now. But Norris ahead. 8 seconds, so we're nowhere near him. It's not like we're going to just suddenly close up on him. Pourchaire has caught Ricciardo and Tsunoda. He got around Ricciardo just now. In fact, he's caught a whole train of guys here. So these are the guys he was running with until he made his lockup and lost him. So he's caught back up to that group at least. Back to Albon. Running P12. Very much in that no man's land. 11.5 seconds to Norris. And that group in front too. Long gone. Gasly we're holding off. We're at the 10 laps, so let's go aggressive. We do have a little bit of spare fuel that we can push with, but not much. Let's save that for late. Looks like it's going to be a non-points scoring type day, as everybody is done with their pit strategies. The only reason why anybody would change strategy at this point is if there's a collision between cars or if somebody crashes. There's so much runoff area here, though, that is highly unlikely. 5 laps to go. I think we're going to save the engine and just use the tires. And we're just going to run things out here in P12, P16. Pourchaire overtaken by Tsunoda. He's going to have to work to get that back in the last laps. And maybe that's our last lap attack. But that 14-second gap is holding. It's 14.5 actually, so we've lost 0.5 over the last few laps. And the race is nearly done. Yellow flag, sector 1.
Did somebody spin out
it's
there?
Gasly who has spun, so that puts it behind us. At least one Alpine did not score points today. Ocon, though, in P6. P6, and he's right there with Perez, challenging. Has 4.5 seconds back. No threat there.
We look at reducing the
Go ahead
lift and
and
cop.
conserve a little bit. No gap, nobody behind us. There was. Ricciardo's 10 seconds back now. Schumacher also. Those two are in this group. We've left them 10 seconds behind. We've pulled Tsunoda forward as we close in on Magnussen. Tsunoda following us but can't really overtake. Let's see if we can finish the job here. Hamilton has won the race. Mercedes, first win. That is, I believe, the first win that anyone other than a Red Bull or Ferrari has claimed in this. He beats Verstappen by a tenth of a second. Russell gets third. Perez, Sainz, Ocon does get sixth. Leclerc coming for P7 right now. Alonso Norris with the fastest lap. That's that soft compound. That did pay off pretty well for him. He got all the way up to P9. Vettel, Joe, Albin comfortably P12. Has the fuel, he's fine. Gasly, 14. Magnussen will take P15. Porsche looks like he will hold off Sonoda. He's got one corner to go. Gonna have to go balanced here towards the finish line though. It's almost out of fuel. And he makes it P16. So P12, P16, much better than the P18, P20 that we had here a year ago. But it's not points for that. It's disappointing. And really came down to that big mistake. Albin could have, should have been with Alonso, Norris, and the AlphaTauris there at the end. With the race victory, Hamilton goes up to P2 in the standings, but it's a huge gap to Verstappen. Verstappen has 9 wins in 12 races. Leclerc has 2. Hamilton has 1. Pretty rough otherwise. Perez, no wins. Sainz, no wins. Even only 2 podiums for him. Ferrari's a little bit off the pace. And Mercedes is getting up there. It was just the second podium of the year for Russell. This race, this track, looking pretty racy. Is that updates? Or is it just a track that suits them? Big gap though, front 6. Alfa Romeo, who was there with them for a while, aren't now. Alfa Romeo has definitely fallen off a bit and have backed up. They have just over 100 points as a team. Albon's got 50. Albon's in the midst of a four driver battle for P7. Porsche falling a little bit further back from Ocon, and we're definitely falling a little bit further back from Alpine. They pick up another 8 points. We again do not score or score significantly less than them, and it's now a 21-point gap. So I think the ship might have sailed on 5th place at this point, but that's no surprise to me. They have got a much better car. We've just had a couple really good races. Not to say that that's not going to happen again, but I'm definitely not counting on it. And we're into the second half. We've got 10 races left to go. Alfa Romeo, even though they're falling off from the front 3, they're still fairly comfortable up there. And, the occasional. In fact, Alfa Romeo could be in trouble with Alpine. Alpine's looked a lot racier than them here recently. But I do think that even though these guys both scored some points today, I do think we are well clear of the bottom end of the grid. Well clear. So I think sixth is very much ours this season, and that's good. Haas with 14. Aston Martin with 0 points, by the way. Neither scoring today. All right, folks. Well, that is going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.